Hello friends, this is Worm, unless you're the IRS, and today we need to talk about something that Bungie really needs to do for us players. But before we get into that, there are a lot of you who aren't subscribed and we do daily Destiny content, so go down there, hit that sub button, turn on the bell so you get notifications, and let's talk about what Bungie needs to do for us as players. And quite simply, they need to uncap some of the weekly limits that are currently in the game. Right now, of course, it's no secret that legendary shards are going away, right? Bungie has kind of been talking about this for quite some time. You know, they have a plan to depreciate them, and the reason why is because they fit in one of two categories, right? You either have players who are starving for shards, or you have players who have more shards than they know what to do with. Like currently, I think I'm sitting at like 40 something thousand shards. There's no way I will ever be able to spend all those shards, right? So like it's a ridiculous amount of shards, and I don't think that shards are something that are incredibly difficult to obtain. I don't think that, you know, we can sit here and say, oh, well, I worked hard for my shards, because the reality is you did not work hard for your shards. Okay, you get them passively just by playing the game, right? And in a situation where the rich get rich, or the rich get richer and the poor stay incredibly poor, like that's what legendary shards are currently doing in Destiny 2. And I think that's the reason why Bungie is taking them out. The other reason, of course, being that whenever a legendary shard glitch comes around, everybody and their dog gets onto that, like gets on that glitch, right? And the reason why is because so many players are starved of shards. I mean, if you think about it, if you're a new player and you don't have any of the exotics and you don't have blah blah blah, you go to Xur, you spend however many shards on the weapon and the armor. Like, those shards are not easy to come by, especially for the casual gamer. Like, obviously players like myself and other people who play for hours and hours and hours, legendary shards are not hard to come by because you get so many of them, because you dismantle so many items. But for players who, you know, are maybe more casual, it's definitely a struggle. So I agree that it's a good thing that Bungie's taking them out, but players need to be compensated somehow for their legendary shards, because the legendary shards, it's almost a token of how much time you have invested in Destiny 2, right? And it's almost like a sentimentality thing, right? Like, I have 40 something thousand shards. Like, no, it's not hard to get those per se, but yes, like, that is a representation of how much time I've put into the game, right? And so I think that there's something that Bungie really should do to help players with these massive amount of shards, and that is to uncap the current limits to certain items. Okay, and specifically the items at Rahul, right? Currently, the most expensive thing that you can buy with legendary shards is Ascendant Alloy from Rahul, right? You spend 400 legendary shards and you get one Ascendant Alloy, and you can do that once per week per account. So it's not even character based. You only get one Ascendant Alloy per week, right? And I don't think that this is necessarily a bad idea. I think that, you know, having a cap on how many Ascendant Alloys you can obtain is a good idea, because, you know, you want enhanced traits on weapons to be more rare, right? So I'm not necessarily in opposition to that, but I am in opposition of Bungie basically saying, hey, we know that you have all these shards saved up, go use them. Okay, how can we use them? Let's see here. We can buy raid banners. We can buy, Phantasmal fragments, I think is what Rick Cacus said the other day in his video, you know, to turn into Glimmer. And that's kind of it. Like, yeah, you can buy one Ascendant Alloy per week. You can buy one, free exotic engram per week. But like, for somebody who has 40,000 shards, that's nothing. That's literally not going to, like, that's going to take no... I'm not going to be able to spend all my shards, right? Like, it's not a possibility that is realistic, right? And so I think that Bungie should uncap, you know, give us the ability to buy as many Ascendant Alloys as we want, right? Because here's the thing, there's still 400 legendary shards apiece, meaning that I can get, how many Ascendant Alloys could I get with 40,000 shards? Somebody do the math on that, right? Like, what is it, 100? Is that right? What's 100 times 40? No, that's 4,000. 1,000? I don't even know. Okay, my math is terrible. But like, you don't need 1,000. Like, this is one of those things. The rich would be able to spend their money on reasonable things that they already would be able to get. Like, I can already go out and put the time investment in doing, the legendary campaign missions, right? This would be saving us so much time. Okay, it's not like, oh, well, if we can't buy Ascendant Alloys, we're not going to be able to have crafted weapons. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like I'm still going to get crafted weapons. I'm still going to get enhanced traits on those crafted weapons, albeit for a more cost, like time effect or time cost, right? But I don't necessarily agree with having to just force players into this time cost. Like if you have thousands and thousands of shards, you should be able to buy multiple Ascendant Alloys. You should be able to buy multiple, enhancement prisms, enhancement cores, like whatever it is that is capped. Because I think enhancement cores are capped on a daily basis. You get 5 per day, and I think that this just needs to be undone this week until the end of the season, right? Once the season ends, Bungie come out and say, hey, here's what you got. You've got this much time to spend all your legendary shards. So we're uncapping all the surplus, or we're uncapping everything so that you can get a surplus of all this stuff. But once the season ends, legendary shards are going to be gone, and the old rates are going to be returned to what they were. Right? You can only get 1 Ascendant Alloy per week. You can only get however many blah blah blahs per week. I don't know, like it's almost, it feels kind of disrespectful to me that Bungie would say, hey, you know what? We're going to take all of your Ascendant shards or all your legendary shards and just remove them from the game. And again, it's not because I worked and grinded so hard for them, right? It's like, because I didn't grind hard for them. Like, it's not like I was like, yeah, I'm going to go grind for shards today. Like, you get them passively just by playing the game. But at the same time, how many people can say, hey, I've got 40,000 shards? I guarantee you that the percentage of players that can sit here and say, hey, I've got, 40,000 plus shards is probably really low in the grand scheme of things, right? And those players, I feel like, should be pseudo rewarded for having invested that much time in game to get these shards, right? And I know that, maybe if you're not on board with this, you're thinking, oh, well, what about the people that did the legendary shard glitch to get tens of thousands of shards, right? I'm sure they exist, but let's be real. What is the percentage of players that have done that? Because the time investment that you could sit here and go from 1,000 shards to 50,000 shards on every single glitch that I can recall, it would have taken hours and hours and hours, even with a bot to do it for you. It would have taken hours to get that many, right? And there's not that many people that have that much time invested in the game. And there's not that many people that would actually sit there and go, I'm going to set up a macro bot to, get me all these shards. Like realistically speaking, that number is so low that I think that that's not really a good argument. Like, it's a tiny percentage, right? Versus the number of players that have this many shards that genuinely have been just holding them over years and years and years. Because let's be honest, the next thing is back early days of D1, when the game first launched, or whenever legendary shards first were introduced, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember much about early days D1. I remember it was terrible, and so I didn't really play it very much. But how many more exotics, how many more, things do we have to spend these shards on? How many more blah blah blahs do we have versus what we had back in the day? And this is why I said the rich get richer, so to speak, and the poor stay poor, is because now every single weekend Xur comes around, a new player has to spend all their shards on the exotics that they, that are good. And if they listen to, YouTubers that, Xur YouTubers and stuff say, hey, get this weapon because it's good, like, you're running through your shards very, very quickly. You stay shard poor versus those of us who've been playing for a long time stay shard rich, right? And so I think that it's just, I think that Bungie should uncap these current limits just for the season, just till the end of this season. Once this season's over, reintroduce the cap, blah, blah, blah. I don't care, right? It doesn't matter to me, but give me an opportunity to spend my shards on something that is valuable to me, something like Ascendant Alloys, which I don't have a whole lot of, right? And you don't need as many Ascendant Alloys as you do Ascendant Shards, right? Ascendant Shards, you need 5 to masterwork an exotic piece of armor. You need 3 to masterwork just a regular piece of armor. And armor is much more sought after, right? Like, you get a good roll, you want to masterwork it, right? You do a different build, use D2 armor picker, it's telling you, hey, use this piece of armor, now use this piece of armor and masterwork it. But with crafted weapons, like, typically I would say most players probably craft one weapon and they get one roll on it that they like, and they enhance those perks. Like, you use 2, right? And then you never have to enhance that weapon again. You never have to, it's not like getting an exotic piece of armor, like, oh wow, like this exotic armor piece is better than the last one I got, so I'm gonna masterwork this one now. Like, no, like with crafted weapons, like you're at a cap, so to speak, right? Once you have that one crafted weapon with the enhanced perks, you don't need more ascendant alloys. But it still would be nice if Bungie would just go out and give us the ability to use our shards in a meaningful way. And not just, what they've done in the past when they depreciate, like, planetary materials where, oh, you can go trade them for glimmer now. Like, in a meaningful way, give us something. Uncap, and I think the best way they do it is just uncap those, the stuff that Rahul sells, and anything else that's capped for legendary shards per day or per week. But yeah, I don't know. That's it for this. I mean, tell me your thoughts on it. What do you think about Bungie, doing this? Like, do you think that they should? Do you think this would be potentially bad for the game? Like, I want to hear your thoughts and arguments in the comments. And yeah, with that being said, of course, like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more daily Destiny content and conversations such as this one. And do me a favor, watch the video you see in the end screen, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you'll like it. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see y'all next time. Bye for now.